Hey guys, this is B&K and I'm Kelechi. If you are new, welcome. Please stay. And for those of you who are returning, welcome back. So today I just wanted to talk about a topic that I think is very applicable to most people, and that's about being chosen. Because rejection is one of those things that are universally experienced. Most people, if you have dealt with human beings, if you have been in a situation where there are people, more than likely you've definitely experienced rejection in some way, in some form or the other. So I think that this will be beneficial to many people, but even if it just applies to just one person, I think that I would have been able to do what I came on here to do. And so if you think that this is something that would be able to help you, go ahead and stick around. So the reason why I wanted to talk about this particular topic, chosen, it's because I was riding in my car the other day and the revelation just kind of hit me out of nowhere, and it was that idea that, listen, God, who is perfect, He knows everything, He sees everything, He sees my life from the beginning to the end. He has seen the mistakes that I've made, and he has seen the mistakes that I will make, and still calls me daughter, still gives me the kind of access that He has given me to Him, still trusts me with the process that He has entrusted to me, and with His word, and with all the things that He believes that I can do. He has looked at me in all of my imperfections. He has looked at me in all of the ways that He knows that I will still fail Him. And He still chose me. And in that moment, I thought to myself, if God, who is perfect and who is all-knowing and who is all of these good things, can choose me, why will I lose sleep over human beings who are the complete opposite, human beings who are limited in their thoughts, in their perspective, limited in the amount of information that they can have about me or any given situation, human beings who are stunted at any given time by their here and now and can only make decisions about anything with the information that they have right now. Why will I lose sleep if human beings reject me? When they don't see everything, they don't know everything, they're only going to make decisions based on what they can see in front of them. If God, who has every information, who knows everything, chooses me. And it's a different type of, it's one of those things that you hear. You know, God loves you. God has chosen you. You hear these things over and over and over and over and over. But once you have like the revelation of how in His goodness He wants you, He wants me, it takes away the gravity of people not, approving of you. It takes away the gravity of people not choosing you, of the gravity that rejection can sort of place upon you, right? So I was just thinking about it because we live in a fallen world. Life happens, situations happen, things happen that solidifies the lie of rejection in our hearts and in our minds, right? Solidifies the lies that we are not seen, that we are not loved, that we are not chosen, that we are abandoned, that we are misunderstood, that we are discarded. These are lies that are solidified in our hearts and in our minds by the experiences that we come in contact with, by the experiences that we have as we go through life, And I just think it's very important for us to understand the value that comes from the truth of who we are to him. I sometimes just sit around and I just think, wow, he thinks so much of me to give me the kind of access that he has given me to him, given me to him, to think that he thinks he trusts me so much that he gives me certain assignments and things that I can do them. And I look at myself and I'm sitting here like, do you know my personality? Do you see where I am currently? But yet somehow you're looking at me and you're thinking that I can figure this thing out or I can do this. I think of the ability that I have to be able to know what my Father says, and that I can call the creator of everything my Father. I think of the many ways that he shows up because he values me, right? And I wondered, and I just it presents it. What's the word I'm looking for? It's very freeing, right? It's very freeing. It frees me up to be able to occupy whatever space I need to occupy because I know the kind of value that I'm bringing, right? And it allows me not to cower because there's a likelihood that I might not be accepted in that space or might not be approved of in that space. Why? Because I'm coming with the knowledge that my God has already approved me. My God has already chosen me. And if there's anyone who should discard me, it would be him. Because he is without imperfection, and yet he still has decided that he wouldn't discard me. So it's such a cool revelation to sit in and to meditate on, right? Because I found that very often when we make concessions and we make compromises that can very easily lead us to dishonoring God, lead us into things that are sinful, lead us into bad choices, it is because we are desiring for human beings to approve of us, to accept us, to consider us cool, to choose us. Whatever it is, I found that is an underlying motivator for why we do certain things that can sometimes lead us down the wrong path, right? So I think that it is so important to have a moment and sit with God to just know what he says about you, to know what he says about me. This is something that I'm constantly doing with him. Whenever I find myself in a space where I'm just like, I'm tempted to look and be like, oh, Lord, I feel overlooked. Or Lord, I feel like I'm in the dark. Or Lord, I feel like, or I feel bad about, let's say, a situation that has happened. Things happen, and I'm tempted to get into that space or remain in that space. I ask him to remind me what he has said about me. I ask him to remind me what he has said about me, so that I am not sucked into my present reality. Why? Because I know that he has all the information, and when he says something, his word is truth, in spite of what it is that is happening before us, in spite of where we are, in spite of what it can look like to other people. His word is truth. He is the same God who looked at a man who was complicit in murder and said, this is my chosen instrument. He looked at Saul and said, this is my chosen instrument. even though this man had just come from murdering his people. He's the same God that looked at Abraham and said, yes, I see your barrenness, but yet I'm calling you the father of many nations. So if there's anyone who can speak truth, even when our reality is saying something completely different, it's him. And so when we're faced with these situations that can, or that wants to trigger the lies of feeling abandoned, or the lies of rejection, or the lies of not being accepted, going to God can counter these lies. Going to him and saying, Lord, what do you say? Lord, who do you say that I am? Lord, who have you created me to be? Lord, how can I see myself through your eyes, so that I'm not stuck in this space and I'm not making decisions out of a place of feeling rejected, and then I'm making decisions to try to get myself accepted, and then those decisions are dishonoring to God. I don't want to ever find myself, I've seen what that looks like. I've been there trying to appease people and compromising on him, and it doesn't ever end anywhere good. It never does, you know? And so I've now come to a point where I'm just like, listen, I understand that I'm of value. I understand the value that I bring, not because of me, Kelechi, but because of God, and because of the value that he has conferred upon me. And having such a conviction of that allows me not to bend. It allows me not to compromise to appease people who are constantly, who are fickle, whose opinions constantly change, whose perspectives constantly change, but God's perspective does not ever change. It doesn't ever change. And if there's anything that if there's a sure place to anchor ourselves and our identity on, our decisions on, it's on him. It's on what he says, right? So my challenge to you all today is to just, is for you guys to go before him and ask him for the truth of who he says that you are, the truth of who he has created you to be, the truth of how he sees you, because people's perception and people's perspective of you can be one way. Even your perspective of yourself can be completely off, can be warped by your experiences, your life experiences, by what people have said to you, by betrayals, by, whatever it is, right? You have come in contact with so many different things that has said this is what it is. And that has governed how you see yourself. It has governed how you approach things. But do it different. Sit with him and you'll be surprised what he says. Ask him to make it very clear to you, who does he say that you are? What has he created you to do and to be? How does he see you? What is his perspective? And ask him to give you the grace to see through his perspective, And I think that the same type of freedom that I am experiencing, just sitting in this revelation of, like, my God shows me, I'm believing that is the same type of freedom that will come to you, wherever you are, whoever it is that is listening. And to just top it all off, I'm going to read a scripture that I was led to, that just solidifies this idea, and it's from 1 Peter 2 verse 9, and it says, "But you are God's chosen treasure, priests who are kings, a spiritual nation set apart as God's devoted ones. He called you out of darkness to experience his marvelous lights, and now he claims you as his very own. He did this so that you would broadcast his glorious wonders throughout the world. That I am not accepted in certain spaces just simply means that I was not created to fit in. It means that I am set apart for his good work, to share and broadcast his glory. That is a much better ground to operate on than on people's acceptance. I know it doesn't ever feel good in the middle of a betrayal, of being discarded, of being cast aside. It doesn't ever feel good. I've experienced it all. But at the end of the day, when you come away and you just think, listen, this is temporary, and there is more to me than just this moment. There's much greater value than whatever it is that I'm experiencing right now. It absolutely helps. It helps. So I hope that really helped someone out there. I really felt like this was something that I needed to come on and share. It's a word that has been, reverberating in my spirit all week, and I thought, somebody might need to hear this, and I hope that it really blessed someone out there. So I hope you guys have a wonderful evening, and I will see you all in the next video.